Hey everyone, it is Jennifer Roberts here, and I am the Podqueen. Welcome to my show. My dog has been locked up. Well, not really. Dwayne's home. He's playing with her in the back. So this is not a dog show any longer. For those of you that have dogs and maybe you thought, oh, well, let's just bring my dog on my lap. I'm sorry. Brinks isn't here today. It's just us. All right, everyone. So today we're going to talk about a heavy subject. Are you ready? I'm going to talk about the book of Job. Now, the book of Job is amazing. It is an incredible book because you see what a human being can walk through. You see the suffering that they can endure, but you also see the way that they find God in the midst of it. And so what I love about the book of Job is everyone has trials in their life, right? Everyone has situations they didn't anticipate, situations that are just out of their control entirely. Now, I don't know about you. I know that when I have a headache, say I have a headache, and that headache lasts longer than like 4 hours, I'm grumpy. But Job had like painful boils from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. I can't even imagine that. I mean, he lost everything. He lost his wife, he lost his children, he lost his friends, he lost his reputation, he lost his wealth. And then all of that, and in the midst of that, then you're also struck with painful boils. So, painful boils, ouch, they hurt, but ugly, ooh. Have you know when someone has like a massive zit on their face and you don't know where to look at them? Like, do you make eye contact? Do you not? Do you acknowledge the fact that they have this massive white bump on their cheek? Okay, Job was like that head to toe. A boil is large, it's ugly, head to toe. He must have looked hideous. So everything that he could have ever gotten his identity from, gone. Everything he could have found comfort in, gone. I mean, gone for real. Sometimes I read the book of Job and you just read it and you don't really imagine what life would have been like for him. But he was a real person who really went through real difficulty. And so I'm going to just talk a little bit from Job 29, and then I'm going to move on to another chapter. But I'm not telling you then or when. You just will wait. I'll tell you, and it'll be like a big surprise. Okay, so Job 29, he is remembering what he used to have. And when I read it, I step into the story. I feel his pain. I'm like, wow, that's intense. So he's saying, oh, that I were as in the months past, as in the days when God watched over me, when his lamp shone upon my hand, and when by his light I walked through darkness. So he's going, there used to be a time where I felt the Lord's presence, where he was with me, he was close to me. I knew that he was all around me. I could walk through darkness and it was nothing to me because the light of God was upon me. He goes on to talk about, he remembers when his children were all around him. Wow. What was that like? If you have lost someone, you're grieving, you think about what that person was like, and you have memories. And Job was a real person, and he's lamenting here, and I would be too. I'm not judging Job, like not at all. And so he's saying, I remember when my children were around me. He's going through all the things and he's remembering. So there's a lot of that. It's like a chapter of that, where he's going on about what it was like when he says that he went out of the city, and even the young men didn't even look at him. They had such respect for him that they averted their eyes. They looked down. And even the old men, it said they stood up in his presence as if he was someone to be respected and honored. He was respected and honored. But now all of that is gone. Nothing. And even the things that you don't even remember that you had, he's remembering now, going, oh, I never even counted that as a blessing, respect and honor. But you know when it's gone, because it's gone. You don't have it anymore. So he's doing that, 3 chapters of it, right? And then here's what's amazing. Then the Lord speaks to Job. Wow. Okay, this really happened. It says his voice was thundering. And then the Lord goes off about himself, talking about, Job, where were you when I created these things? And he goes on and on and on about the knowledge of God. So chapter 38, it goes on for a while. And so I love it because, let's go to chapter 40. This is what I really love. So chapter 38 first, God is talking and he's telling Job, look at who I am. I am great. I am huge. I created all things. I know how far the waves of the sea go. I know when they pull back. And it's filled with the knowledge of God. We need to be filled with the knowledge of God. In hard times, we need to focus on God, get our eyes off of ourselves. And again, I have never even tasted the pain that Job tasted ever. I feel like, he was a righteous man. He didn't sin in the process. And then Job responds after seeing the knowledge of God, because God himself speaks to Job. And this is what Job says. He says, behold, I am vile. Ooh, that's crazy. So chapter 40, verse 4, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? I lay my hand over my mouth, it says. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. You twice, but I will proceed no further. Meaning this, and I'm going to close with this. Job sees who God is. He sees the power of God. God reminds him of how great he is. He is the Almighty. He has no equal. He sits above the circle of the earth. And Job, when he sees God in his fullness, recognizes he has nothing to complain about and says, I cover my mouth in your presence. So I'm going to say, if you're having a hard time today, and Job had a hard time, like really. Now it all got restored, but it doesn't mean he missed his old kids. It's not like replacing, children with other children makes the pain go away. It doesn't. So we need to look to the knowledge of God to find our comfort there in our most difficult hour. That's what Job did. And then he recognized that he had nothing to say when he compared himself to who God was. That's what the Podqueen thinks.